This little guy is the 40mm Summicron-C from Leica. It's incredibly small, a relatively normal-ish focal length, and one of the most inexpensive Leica lenses you can buy. But why is it so inexpensive, and is it actually any good? Let's check it out. So this is actually the second time I own this lens. The first time I sold it to purchase a 35mm Summicron and just definitely didn't need another very similar focal length and smaller size lens like this. But once I purchased the larger Zeiss 35 1.4, I definitely regretted not having something just like tiny like this to actually put on my camera. This lens was developed for the Leica CL system, which was a M-mount camera that was also partnering with Minolta because they made their own version, and there's a Minolta version of this lens, and it had frame lines for 28, 40, and 90 millimeters, which is kind of weird. And those cameras, I still haven't been able to use one, but they are pretty affordable in comparison to many other Leica things. But they only made them for a few years in the 70s, and definitely a rumor out there is because they were worried about it cannibalizing the sales of their actual Summicrons because these were so much more inexpensive than the regular 35 millimeters. Now, just so you can see, it is so small. I mean, it's almost laughable how tiny of a lens this thing is. But for what it is, and especially for something like street photography, I think this lens is an amazing thing to put in your kit. So as far as image quality goes, it's pretty good. It's definitely a 70s lens, so you're not gonna get like amazing sharpness, especially wide open at f2, but I do like that it has the availability to open up to something like f2. You definitely get that kind of like dreamy Leica glow or whatever you wanna call that, especially wide open. And even stop down, it's not gonna be perfect all the way to the edges or anything, but I think the point of having a lens like this is not gonna be necessarily for its sharpness, but more of its smaller size, its character, and just to kind of reminisce about that like vintage Leica feel to things. So as soon as I got this particular lens for the second time of owning this thing, I plopped it on a camera, went out and took some street photos. So let's jump in, see some of those photos, and then we can talk more about the specifics of all of it.
Float around in a hollow dream, fix my eyes like a laser beam. Have I been haunting my own house? I've grown thin, translucent skin. Walls wouldn't hold the devil in, wouldn't let me out. You call me out. We all make a promise in a fever pitch. Up against the wall, gonna see what sticks. Then we go looking for an easy fix before it comes tumbling down. Do we break honest in a fever dream? Up against the wall, gonna see what leans. Then we go looking for the easy means before it comes tumbling down. I'm gonna prove my love. I'm gonna couldn't lose my love. So baby, don't confuse my love. We all make a promise in a fever pitch. baby, don't confuse my love. Before it comes stumbling down, I'm gonna prove my love. You know you couldn't lose my love. So baby, don't confuse my love.
So, like you saw, there was nothing like amazing about it, but the thing that is cool is 40 millimeters obviously is just a little bit tighter than a 35. Just having something like this, it does work for a regular, good all-around kind of lens. And for lots of people, this can be the only lens that they have. I would say for me, this is the first normal Leica lens I ever owned. And I used it a ton on film. I think it sings on film quite a bit more and gives you kind of that vintage kind of feel, but still is sharp enough that you're not going to be annoyed. Now, I think its competitors generally are going to be probably the Voigtlander Nocton, the 40mm 1.4, as well as the original like 35 1.4. Those lenses are also incredibly small like this, but again, I never really liked the look out of those lenses. You also get some really interesting flare on those lenses like you get on this as well. One second, actually. But if you are looking for something that is almost as small, but a lot sharper and still gives you a lot of character, the Voigtlander Ultron 35mm is probably going to be the case for you, especially if you shoot a lot more on digital and you're looking for sharpness. But if you do want to use stuff on digital and you're looking for more of that soft film-like kind of aesthetic and look to something, I do think that that's where something like this is probably preferable over something like the Voigtlander. This lens is also weird because there are those purists out there that only would put a Leica lens on a Leica camera, but since this is an M camera and not like the CL camera, maybe this doesn't fit in your little box of what is or isn't a Leica lens, but there is something fun about just pairing an actual Leica lens on a Leica camera. The fun thing for me about using these lenses from the 70s is this weird kind of nostalgia thing of thinking through all of the possible photos and things and places this lens has been and, you know, just kind of bringing it along for your own part of the journey. So thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'll put links to this on KEH. The last time I checked, these were well under $1,000. So definitely a kind of first lens for a Leica. Depending on what you want, this could definitely be it. Or the Voigtlander is also my other kind of main option of something that I think fits the bill of being small and portable and kind of fits the whole Leica feeling. So hit the like button if you enjoyed the content, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all on the next one.